Welcome to the Friday afternoon version of Wednesday night OWCP chats with Clown and Chris.
I don't know why I was like, what do I say?
Never done Wednesday night chats before. Robert, if you're watching this, definitely edit this part out. So we are in Greenville, South Carolina at the Federal Injury Center's office, our second day, their third day of Patient Appreciation Week. And I think it was actually all week, and appreciate patients every day, but they're throwing a special party each day. And so they invited Gini and I out, and we are upstairs in the Wednesday night chat suite. Now it is, at least, with a little bit of a live audience in front of us, which is always fun. More for me than for her because she's super shy. And everyone else is like, there's no way she's super shy. Say some words. Tell them how super shy you're not.
Hi.
So we've been, yesterday we did a talk. Many of you may have seen it. And I was talking about the CA10. And if I can pull it out. So we have this form CA10 here. And you can find all the forms that I talk about on Wednesday night chats, on federalinjurycenters.com. It's Federal Injury Centers with an S on the end.com. And there's a forms tab. You can check that out. But we were discussing the CA10 in terms of the reason so many people don't have accepted claims. And I would say that the number one reason claims aren't accepted is because claims are not attempted. And claims aren't attempted for a couple of reasons. One, because people don't know what to do. And two, because they're scared of management. And we also discussed a little bit of my fourth book, Breaking OWCP. You can get it at breakingowcp.com. But when we're live, I have actual paper copies that I give out for free. So it's an incentive to come and show up and see us wherever we're at. And, so not knowing what to do, being scared of management, well, those are two things we can solve, because everybody within ear reach or that's seeing us can print a CA10 and put it at their workstation at work. And so now everyone can tell a friend what they need to do when they get hurt at work. The number that I've come up with through talking to thousands of face is that about 14% of you have accepted claims. So OSHA, they track numbers of claims that are accepted. They don't track denied claims. They don't track unattempted claims because there's possibly no who's hurt and didn't say anything about it. So those counted. The other thing that OSHA doesn't count anymore, who here's a postal employee in this room? OSHA doesn't count you anymore. So in their list of injuries by agency, for whatever reason, about 3 years ago, I think, they took USPS off of the list. Now, every non-postal agency is still listed, but USPS isn't, and they're the ones that get hurt the most because their job is probably the hardest. I think that not prison guards, but corrections officers, federal prisons would argue their job's harder because they fight for a living. They fight people with nothing to lose, so that sucks. I think VA nurses have a tough job. They're lifting people all day long, and people sometimes weigh a lot more than maybe a heavy dog food bag. But for the most part, I think postal employees have the hardest job, lifting 70 pounds throughout the day, carriers walking 10 miles a day, standing all day long, mandatory overtime throughout, and keeping their job for 20. It's wear and tear. It takes a toll on the body. Yeah. And 14% of people are injured. 86% don't have accepted claims. So 14% have accepted claims, 86% don't. And we can solve the problem by just knowing what to do. And so that's what we're talking about. The CA10 is super important. It's called What a Federal Employee Should Do When Injured at Work. And at the bottom, it says post on agency's website. I ask a room of people all the time. I'll ask the few that are in. Who's ever heard of a CA10 before today? Okay, so one person had heard of it before today. So for all the rest, and that's our experience everywhere I go. If I'm in a room of 100 people, 3 people say they've heard of the CA10, unless they watch us here, and then everyone's heard of CA10. Well, if you haven't heard of a form, are you going to go to your agency's website to look for it? You don't even know it exists. What? I'm not going to go look for a CA10. I've never even heard of a CA10. And so this form got invisible in October of 2021 when they revised it. Prior to that, it said post on employees' bulletin board. And even still, for years, I would ask, and nobody had ever seen it on a bulletin board. So it went from being hard to find because it wasn't on the board to being totally invisible because now you got to go to your agency's website to get it. But now that you know, everyone here can print a Form CA10, what a federal employee should do when injured at work, and take it to work, and post it on your bulletin board in your break room where it belongs so that people can see it. Our friend Jerry from Virginia said that she posted at the front, in the inside of every stall in the women's restroom. So people are seeing those for sure. I think you need to post them everywhere. You can also, again, find them at federalinjurycenters.com. But this thing says report to supervisor. That's the first thing you have to do. And there's your next barrier. I don't want to report to my supervisor because, except for maybe a handful of exceptions, supervisors are jerks. And they give you a hard time, harass, threaten, and say they're going to fire you, which is illegal. But you still have to do it. And then to make it worse, it says report as soon as possible. Now, everybody that knows me knows that as soon as possible means what? Anybody yell it out? Now, okay. So now is as soon as possible time to do anything. Thank you very much. And but when you wait to as soon as possible, then you run the risk of being in what I call up some dirt on it crowd. And I was saying yesterday that I was at a place in California and I looked at this table, and it's a table full of pretty tough looking guys. And I said, "You're the rub some dirt on a table for sure." Run it means I'm going to just wait and see if this thing gets better. Well, you wait, and then a week passes and 8 days go by, and you no longer can get a CA-16. Now, in the second section of this, it says get CA-16 from your supervisor. But what it doesn't tell you is that you have to report your injury within 7 days in order to get the CA-16. And on day 8, they no longer have to give it to you. And believe me, they won't give it to you. Hey, Ed.
Hello. Hi.
So they won't give it to you. Ed's here. Ed does all the billing for all the franchise locations, and we're in South Carolina where Ed lives. It's good to have Ed. So you can't have the CA-16 unless you report within 7 days. But if you're in the rub some dirt on it camp, you're going to wait 8 days and maybe 30. And in like 31 days, you're still going to be complaining that your back hurts and you don't know why it didn't get better. Well, it didn't get better because you didn't do anything about it. And because you waited more than 30 days, you now cannot get continuation of pay. So you rub some dirt on it, you hope it got better, and you lost a CA-16 and you lost COP. CA-16 pays all of your bills for the days, medicals. And COP pays your time off for up to 45 days, which is up to 6 weeks of time. And when you report past 30 days, you can no longer have either one. So you got to report now, today, the day you get hurt. In my experience, which is vast, the people that have the worst time in OWCP reported late. They didn't get their CA-16 or their COP. And it started off having to make financial decisions for health and not being able to take off of work to get better. And also not being able to work because you're hurt. And I say, how are you going to make it to retirement if you can't make it through tomorrow's work shift? And that's the problem if you start off slow by not getting a 16 or COP. And then the other thing this section says is you have the right to choose your own position. It says you have the right to initial selection of position. Everybody has heard at least a story or a rumor about a supervisor. Sorry, my mouth's getting dry. Just let that set. Supervisor. I'm probably going to say something mean afterwards. That a supervisor told them they had to go to the doctor that the supervisor wanted to go to. You got to go to this urgent care. You got to go to this doctor over here or whatever. And the claim gets denied because the supervisor is sending them to an automatic denial because nobody else knows how to do this. Urgent cares are staffed by nurse practitioners. Nurse practitioners need an MD counter signature, but the MD's not there. So you don't get the signature. Your denial comes and it says that the nurse practitioner qualified physician. Well, they're not without an MD counter signature. But the problem with them telling you what doctor you have to go to is that the law says you have the right to initial selection of physician, just like here. But it also says they have to tell you it's your right to choose a doctor, which is opposite of them telling you have to go to their doctor. That you can go to your own doctor is the law. You have to go to their doctor is anti-law. It's against the law. And it's actually against the Code of Federal Regulations. If you're a postal employee, it goes against the ELM. It goes against everything that you can find in writing. It also says you can't be forced to go to a doctor that's under contract with or employed by the agency. So if you're a VA employee, that's you. Injury comp at the VA is notorious for telling you to go see the VA doctor, who's a world-class doctor with totally untrained in OWCP. You have the right to choose your own doctor. So the first two things that cause disaster for people is they don't get a CA-16 and they don't get COP. But the worst thing is they go to the wrong doctor. And a lot of people will say right here, well, you're with Federal Injury Centers. Of course you want people to go to your offices. And yeah, of course I do obviously want people to go here. But why do I want that? Because nationwide, 14% of you have accepted claims, and nationwide, nearly 100% of us have accepted claims. So you don't need an abacus to know that a 14 and 100 are a little bit different. All right. That's why I want you to go to federal injury centers. That's why we exist, because we get claims accepted. Wendy, again, how many claims have you gotten accepted already?
We have 90.
And how many claims can never be accepted?
None yet.
None. Okay. So in other words, we're pacing for 100% here in South Carolina because we've got 90 approved, and the ones that aren't approved yet just aren't approved yet. Okay. That's the experience we have all over the country. Your experience in almost every place in the country is denial. And because it's so, the rule everywhere else is you're going to get a denied claim. That's another reason most people will just say, forget about it. I'm going to go through all this hassle. My supervisor is going to abuse me. I'm never going to get my claim approved anyway. So what's the point? And I understand that. And that's why I wrote this, because these 25 things in this book are for those of you in Iowa, Nebraska, that are, 8 hours from any federal injury center's office and just can't make that drive. It's for you so that you can get your claim accepted without a federal injury center's doctor. And so I've been asked, well, why would you write the playbook on people to not need you anymore? So I know, how about that? How about that? That tells you kind of what we're about. So if you do the 25 things in this book and you don't get a denied or you don't get an approved claim, then there's a thing in here you didn't do right. And you can do it again. And you can kick your doctor in the butt as much as you got to make him do the job right. Right. So anyways, I'm kind of off. Let me go back to the CA10. So after you get your CA16, you choose your own doctor. You report it today, so you didn't lose any benefits. The next thing on here says file a CA1 or 2. Well, in the old days, that sucked because you had to file it with your supervisor. I would literally tell people, you got to sit down at the desk with your supervisor. You fill out the first part, they fill out the second part. And they're like, oh, man, I don't want to sit in the office with the supervisor. And I understand. Well, now you don't have to, because now they have this ecomp system. It's ecomp.dol.gov. You can go online, you can file everything there, and then your supervisor just gets an email. And one of the 25 things in here is be sure you have your correct, the supervisor's correct email. So they can't say, well, I didn't get it.
Yep.
Because when they do get it, they have 10 days from the point they get that to DOL. And that's a rule. So you fill out your CA1 or 2 here. Now, this is where I stop and say, okay, CA2, you can't get a CA2 approved. Well, that's what you hear. But we get CA2 approves all the time. I said approved. CA2's approved all the time. The thing about those, most people believe that they don't have time, that I ran out of time. It's too late. I can't report my injury anymore. But you have 3 years from a CA1 injury to report. Well, Chris, you said 7 days. You said 30 days. I said now, actually. What I'm telling you is you have 3 years to report an injury. So if you haven't, and it hasn't been 3 years, you still can. You can't have a CA16 anymore, and you're not eligible for COP anymore, but you can still get help. You potentially get reimbursed for things that you spent for your injury care. And so it's worth knowing you have 3 years. On a CA2 that developed over time, you have 3 years from the date you knew it was work-related. You may have been limping around because you carry the mail 10 miles a day for the last 10 years. And for the last 2 years, your knee's been hurting. And today a doctor said, yeah, but don't you carry the mail? I think this is work-related. Well, now you still have 3 years to report it from today. So there's this big window of time you have. And most of the time when people think it's too late, it's not too late. And so those of you that are out there that are listening to this, you got to tell somebody it's not too late, right? You can help somebody just by telling them that they didn't run out of time. The fourth thing is about COP, but I already went over that. As long as you report now, you can get COP. And then it talks about medical billing. And I always say you don't need to care if your doctor gets paid. That's not your problem. And contacting OWCP's got this really cute phone number that they won't answer. So good luck with that. But the reason I bring this up is because if people just knew what to do, they'd have a better chance to get their claim approved, right? And if you can post your CA10s throughout your break rooms at whatever station you work, then people have a chance. And if you're somewhere outside of range of federal injury centers, you can still come here and get help. You can get the book at breakingowcp.com, and it will, I assure you, will help you. And then, but hopefully you're able to find one of our offices so that you don't have those problems. And if you already had the problem, it's not too late because if your claim was denied, we can still take it and take a look at it. So I don't see if there's any questions
Not
coming
yet.
up here. Does anybody here have any questions? Anybody? Come on. Yes.
How do you get your leave back if you had an injury and you didn't know about federal injuries and you paid for it out of your pocket? Can you get your leave back, buy it back?
Yeah, it's called leave buyback, form CA7, maybe a 7A, and definitely a 7B. They'll all three go together. You fill them out. If you were out of work because you're at the doctor, you got to get documentation that you're at the doctor. If you're out of work because the doctor took you off with a CA17 duty status report, then you attach the CA17. There's also a form called a CA20 your doctor fills out. Attach that. The reason we're attaching documentation. If you just turn in a perfectly filled out CA7, 7A, and 7B, it'll get denied. And it's perfect, but it'll still get denied because there's no documentation.
So if you had surgery, because I had knee surgery, my knee went out at home, but I had the surgery and paid for it out of my pocket because I didn't know anything about this. No, this is the second time this knee has gone out. The first time was a postal injury when I carried mail.
So now you're talking about money you paid out of your pocket. So I'm making sure the audience may not have heard your question. So the first question was how to get leave back. That's leave buyback. The second question is I paid money out of my pocket for surgery before I was using OWCP. What do I do about it? Once your claim is approved, then you get a form called OWCP 915. It happens to be in that folder that they passed out. I saw that. And the OWCP 915 is there to get reimbursement for money you paid out of pocket. You just need to attach receipts. I would get a letter of medical necessity from the surgeon that did the surgery, so they knew it was medically indicated, and turn those two things in, and that's how you get paid. Now, if you get denied, they'll tell you specifically why it was denied. In fact, there will be a paragraph that says specifically, this is denied because, and then you just fix it.
So if you want to buy back your leave, is that costing you out of your pocket, or is that?
Well, it is called leave buyback.
Yeah.
So it's not free, but I really don't know how much it will cost you based on your leave, but the CA7B will help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not fair, but OWCP is not fair.
Well, I figured that.
Yeah, it's just not fair. Who else? Come on. How about anybody that works here? Did I say anything that you didn't hear before? No? Well, then this is the shortest live we've ever done. Normally we'll get like 100 questions, and we can go sometimes 2 hours just answering questions, which is fun.
I had asked him earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she snuck in and cheated.
Yeah, she did.
What was her question? You could talk about
It's
it.
nobody's business.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Personal.
All right. Well, are there any questions on yours, Wendy?
No.
No? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Well,
Okay.
all right. Another question.
Okay. I've been hurt, like I said, I've been hurt since 2003. And every 15 months, you have to they fill you a package that you have to fill out.
Mhm.
Okay. And then they'll send you for a second opinion to their doctor. So you have to go there.
Oh, yeah. So when you're told to go to a second opinion visit, you have to go, because what happens is they will cut you off from all benefits until you go.
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, don't go, but you're not getting paid. So then you have to go. Yeah, that's a big deal. I've been researching the second opinion thing quite a bit, actually. One of the 25 things here has to do with it. But yeah, you got to go to that. But then what you have to do is document exactly what happens in the second opinion visit. I arrived at 11 a.m. for my appointment. Okay, I left at 11:05. How long did the doctor see you? Because that's what happens. And you want to document time in, time out. Did the doctor look at me? Did the doctor touch me? Did the doctor ask me any questions? You know, what happened in that 5 minutes that I was there? And then submit that to your claims examiner. Say, this is just a record of how the visit went. I don't recommend putting opinions in there. Like, I think the doctor was a jerk, or there's no way the doctor spent enough time with me, because we don't know what medical decision making is, right? But we can say the fact is I got here at this time, I left at this time, and this is what happened in the visit. Because almost all the time, the second opinion doctor is going to make a decision that's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then your doctor will need to have some ammunition to fix that. and it'll become the weight of evidence will be what your doctor says in a narrative report versus what the second opinion doctor's report says. But the link to that will be what your documentation is of what happened in the visit. But you got to go, because if you don't, they'll cut you off completely. Go to your second opinion visits.
We have Kimberly from YouTube. If I go back to my carrier and I'm not able to do the job.
Okay,
I
so
think she meant what if I go back?
So Kimberly's asking, what if I go back to work and I can't do it? What we like to say is, here's your CA-17. We're sending you back to work with these restrictions or with no restrictions. It's full duty. If you get to work and you realize that there's something you're still not able to do because you feel like it's going to get you hurt worse, then go back to your doctor and have your doctor revise the CA-17. Don't just stay there and get hurt. Communicate with your doctor, because although it should be an exact science, return to work is not an exact science. And doctors do their very best based on what they've seen you do in therapy and what they feel like you can do based on your range of motion and other lifting tests. But the bottom line is it's not an exact science. And so if there's still a problem, you got to go back and communicate with the doctor. Anything else?
Not yet. Anybody else have a question?
Yes. So what do we do if after they file a grievance for their supervisor not honoring their work restrictions, but we send them back to work on light duty and the supervisor demands that they do their regular job?
Okay, so they're still going to file the grievance again, but to make sure everyone heard it, if your supervisor is just adamant that your job at work is to get hurt again because they're not going to follow your restrictions, then call OSHA, 1-800-321-OSHA, and tell them, hey, I think we may have a safety problem here because my doctor says this and my supervisor is not allowing me to work under my restrictions. That's a big deal. That's a huge thing. And OSHA generally won't like that very much. That's grievance and OSHA, but I'd file a second grievance too.
Mr. Hodge.
Kenny, you can give them the blueprint, but you can't give them the tenacity in which you and your team execute that same blueprint. Kenny Hodge is a good friend of ours, union president
Yeah, I know.
in Ohio. I love Kenny. Kenny's a good friend. All right, so normally I don't take Wednesday night chats as an opportunity to do advertising, but since nobody wants to ask any more questions, we are in Greenville, South Carolina, at the Federal Injury Center's location here. What's the address again?
3029 White Horse Road.
3029 White Horse Road in Greenville, South Carolina. Beautiful town. Everyone should come visit. And what I'm learning is that lots of people are coming from like 4 hours away to visit. So it's working out. The claims acceptance rate here is pushing 100%.
Yep.
The return to work rate here is very high. I don't know what it is because I haven't asked yet, but it's generally 83, 85% plus.
Is that what you guys are at?
Yeah, around anywhere between 85 and 90.
Okay.
I haven't.
And then I say that I start talking about return to work, and then some nice person will come on and say, "Oh, you're the company doctor." And the answer is really more simple than that. It's that I've talked to tens of thousands of employees who weren't getting paid and realized that clocking in is the best way to get paid. And, like my friend Rich in New York, he said, I'm tired of seeing my carriers go homeless. Okay, let's get them back to work so they can afford to pay their bills. And, but it's always based on medical necessity. We get people back to work based on what their restrictions are. That's not all full duty. A large portion of that is limited duty, but still people get to clock in and get paid and stop jumping through hoops to get paid. And that's what I want. Jumping through hoops to get paid would make me absolutely nuts. And I can't do that to my friends.
Yeah, Miss Mack says, I was in a motor vehicle accident as a federal employee, but I hired a PI attorney.
Oh, no.
I do have an accepted claim for my motor vehicle accident. The issue from my PI attorney has no clue about third-party claims. The next phase of the lawsuit is mediation. Should I change attorneys at this point?
Okay, so Yolanda, I don't like telling you to change lawyers, but what I do want to tell you is that your PI lawyer, if they don't know anything about OWCP, something bad is about to happen to you.
Yeah.
But I can also tell you that any federal lawyer will not talk to you as long as you have a lawyer, because that's an ethics violation. They could be disbarred. So and I'm not telling you to fire your lawyer now. I'm saying if you're going to go to a federal lawyer, you can't already have another lawyer. That's just the rules for lawyers.
But if you send me your information, I could talk for you and get some information just in case.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, all right. That is the end of the Friday afternoon edition of Night OWCP Chats with Chris and Gini. She's been very happy to give all the input she gave today. We have a room full of people, and anytime there's one or more people in front of us, she freezes up. So wave or something.
I waved. Wait, somebody just said, I have a question.
Hit it.
Maxwell.
Hit it. What's your question?
I'm just typing.
And Mary says she travels from Georgia.
You guys see Mary?
We knew
in
Mary when she was in Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Yep.
She said
She couldn't make
she
it.
couldn't make it. Yep.
So, yeah.
We're just waiting around for another question. I have a feeling it's being typed right now.
You're new. Do you have any questions?
Based on everything you didn't just hear. So we were in Alabama, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And there was a woman there, and every time she took a bite, I asked her something. And then I realized I'm only talking to her when she's eating. But then when I realized that, I only talked to her when she was eating, because that was pretty fun. But
Right.
maybe we won't do that to you.
No, I didn't want to get choked on that. I'll listen for a while.
Okay.
How long you guys
Well, we're probably going to be done soon, but we're not going anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
She said, if your case has been approved by OWCP and the employer won't pay CA7s on time, what is my next step?
So it doesn't say on time. If you're
What
approved
is
and your
my
employer
next-
won't pay your CA7s, what's your next step? So
Yeah.
your employer doesn't pay your CA7s. OWCP pays your CA7s. You fill those out on eComp, and your claims examiner pays those, as long as you have your documentation, like we talked about earlier. A copy of your CA17, copy of a CA20, a disability narrative that's the doctor's way of explaining why you're off of work medically, and any medical or physical therapy appointments you were at, you want to get a printout of those and just attach it. But your employer does not pay your CA7, your claims examiner does. And it's done on eComp now, so it bypasses the employer, so they can't be jerks about it anymore. And Tanya says hi. Hello, Tanya. Known her forever.
Yep.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, I'm going to end this, but we're going to stick around here in the live audience. And again, in the next places that Gini and I go, and if you're live, everyone gets a free book. So we want you to come out and see us when we're there. Oh, saved by another question. It said pending supervisor challenge absence. That's okay. The good news is if a supervisor challenges something, we met with a senior claims examiner who said when the supervisors write things and say things, their response is they roll their eyes. The claims examiners are aware your supervisors are like borderline idiots, and those aren't my words.
That's true.
Those are not my words. But that is encouraging. That is encouraging to know that they don't hold a lot of stock in what your supervisors say. So don't sweat that too much.
There's Kathy. I'm a regular employee and management won't allow me to work.
Well, then if they won't let you come to work and your case is approved and your doctor sent you to work with a CA17, then your documentation to get paid is management won't let me work. So you turn that in with your CA7s and you should get paid pretty regularly because your doctor's trying to get you to work and they won't let you work. But that only applies if your claim's approved. If it's not, then let's get your claim approved.
Oh, she said 8 hours.
Yeah, they gotta pay you if they're not gonna let you work. Either pay me to work or pay me to stay home. Goes.
I do have a question.
All right, another question in the live audience.
Yeah, if your doctor wrote you a note to have a special chair that you need to sit in, and they don't honor it, then what?
You want to, okay, so your doctor wrote a note saying that you need a special chair to sit in. That's based on restrictions. That would be part of your CA17. This is how you can work. And they won't give it to you. You're going to have to file a grievance. You're going to have to go through your union and get help filing a grievance. Are you a rural carrier?
No.
Okay, good. I wouldn't think so if the chair was the issue. But if you're a rural carrier, they don't really, for the rest of them do. So you're going to have to file a grievance with it and say, look, this is what my doctor wants. I don't have it. And I've seen the unions get that done before.
Yeah, there are some. Are you APW?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I've seen some of the clerks that have gotten the chairs approved to sit in it from
Now,
their doctor.
Another thing that can be done, but again, management's got to approve it,
Yeah.
is you can get your own chair. Now follow me to the end on this. And then you bring your chair to work. Yeah, you bring your chair to work, but then they have to approve it.
Yeah.
But OWCP will pay for things like chairs if it's medically necessary. Now, I didn't say they always pay it, and it's 100%, but they won't pay it because it's a chair, right? So if your doctor can write a good or medical necessity, it's possible. But bottom line is, if that's what it takes to get you to work, that's a small thing. I mean, a chair is a small thing.
But I was denied, like, where they put me the place that they put me to light duty, they said, well, we can't get you a chair back here because these are the chairs that are required for back here, so I can't get you.
Well, I'd find out what happens if I bring my own chair, and here's the chair I'm going to bring.
Well, and the thing about it is other people, the chair that I'm requesting, other people are sitting in those chairs back there. And the first thing he said to me, well, those are medically authorized.
Oh, you mean like me?
Duh.
Medically authorized. So what do we got to do to medically authorize one of those chairs for me?
Right. So when I go back there, I have to sit in somebody else's chair.
Yeah.
But on the back of the chair, a person had to do not use my property.
Right.
So let's get the exact same chair. How they deny that?
Right.
You get the exact same chair,
Right.
but you're going to need help with your union on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Ed, does OWCP pay for chairs if it's medically necessary?
It does. Have to see if the separate condition will cover.
Okay, I thought so.
Only the code.
Proper code.
Any other questions?
Does that mean OWCP pay me?
Yeah, Kathy, back on the question on, they won't let me work. Yeah, OWCP pays with your CA7. You got to turn in a CA7 every 2 weeks for your time off. But your documentation is my supervisor won't let me work. Now, I would tell, especially if you have an accept claim and your doctor wrote a CA17 that gets you back to limited duty, the rule is that management's got to make an effort, unless you're a rural carrier. Again, there goes rural carriers. But management's got to make an effort to find an acceptable position for you with limited duty. And then if they can't, they have to prove that they tried everything possible to get that done. If your supervisors haven't even done that, they're breaking the law. And you can file a grievance on that and make them do a limited duty offer, or make them say, we looked and looked and looked and couldn't find anything. And then you stay home and you get paid with your CA7s.
Kim said, if it wasn't for you, I would have lost everything. Will OWCP cover a handicap shower and handicap ramp? I was told they would.
They will under certain conditions. There's no way we could answer that thoroughly here, but it's not something they'll just automatically deny. You'd have to have a good, strong letter of medical necessity from your doctor explaining why you need these things. All right. Any other questions?
She said there's other employees working 8 hours in office on light duty. That's Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy, it's not uncommon for supervisors to be jerks. I think it is in their written job description.
Ed, Columbus, Ohio says, hello. Hi, Ed.
Oh, and if you're wondering why we're wearing these sports shirts while we're at work, because today is like sports day and half the people knew it, half the people didn't. But I knew it. And on the heels of my Rangers losing 2 in a row, I'm still wearing the shirt. She's from Utah and she went to school there. She was a cheerleader there. I told her to wear the cheerleader costume, but she chose the jersey instead.
Oh my God.
So she was a Utah football cheerleader, and she doesn't even know what a first down is.
I don't.
I'm like, did you ever turn around and look that way? Or did you only ever look up there? She said, nope, I never looked that way.
Kim said, when are you coming back to South Carolina? I don't know. We don't know yet.
We're here now.
Yeah.
All day, all night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't have any specific plans, but we have a huge deal coming up for the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Kimberly says, can massage be accepted therapy? And if so, how do we get them included? Thanks for all you do.
Massages, we do massage every day, all the time. All the time. It's definitely accepted therapy. It's approved what's called a CPT code, which is a billing code in healthcare. And when it's medically necessary for whatever your diagnosed condition is, you can get massage. It has to be pre-authorized, but everything has to be pre-authorized. That means a claims examiner says yes in advance. And so like all the treatment Federal Injury Center's was approved in advance by somebody at OWCP where they said, yeah, we agree you should do that. And so if they agree that you should do massage, then yeah, you can get it.
And it's called manual therapy, just so they know.
Well, there's different manual therapy, massage, myofascial release. Those are all different forms or things that massage therapists do. And Bama from North Carolina says, hey, what's up, Bama?
Ed, you want to say something to that about massage?
No, not here. We don't need to do that here. But that's right. If you're looking at your notes, manual therapy, massage, and myofascial release are 3 very common things you get from a massage therapist. Tanya, read that one.
I have a second opinion next week for my injury. Last year, they had me driving over 50 miles away. Why not locally? I asked That's just where they're sending me.
All right. So in my first book, I think you have it. Look in the chapter that says rules, laws, and regulations, and the specific law they can't send you more than 50 miles is there. Use that, and that should that up, and your union can grieve that because they're only supposed to send you 50 miles from your home, unless they can prove that there is no other work anywhere but there. But yeah, you'll find that law in the first book in that rules, laws, and regulations chapter.
What else? No?
Exactly, was it 24/9?
Now you're gonna make me.
Yeah.
All right,
$24.99 is a modified duty assignment.
It's a modified duty assignment. And so what you do is you get one of those from your agency when you have a modified duty assignment, and it's on a $24.99.
Are you, you still understand?
Is there another one? Is there another type of
Another type of what?
modified instead of the $24.99? Are there different ones?
Well, not that I knew of, but the $24.99 almost stumped me too. The question is there anything besides the $24.99 that is for modified duty? I haven't heard of it. And I was actually going to look. I think we actually have that form on our website. I better look at it here. Go ahead.
That's it.
Fill the air with words so I can look
No.
something up.
Tanya said that's what they say.
Yeah, $24.99. Thank you, Tanya.
No, about the 50 miles over driving.
There's this thing that she showed on Facebook the other day. And what was it? The guy asked his wife a question and the answer made no sense. It had nothing to do with the question that he asked. So we're off on $24.99, and she says that's what Tanya said, but it happens to be on the subject right before. And if you just add the 50-mile thing, that's what Tanya said, then I know that I'm not talking about the $24.99. And this is how I live every day. Every day. You wouldn't believe the numbers of times in a day that I say, what exactly do you mean by that? Are we still talking about this subject? Oh, no, I'm talking about what my dad said 3 days ago. She's still just thinking about it 3 days later. Yeah, that's how that goes. I'm just seeing if I have a $24.99 on the website. No, but if I can get access to it, it's a not an OWCP specific form. But I'll take a look.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Anybody else want to play Stump the Chump? How about over here?
Okay.
That's something you have to get from your supervisor?
Yeah. Well, so what's going to happen is we're going to fill out the CA-17, and in a minute, I'm going to let Wendy double check me on this one. We fill out the CA-17 or the doctor, and that's what they use to write your restrictions so you can have limited duty.
Okay.
Right? So you get that, then they have to do their thing inside, but the $24.99 is going to go with that.
Okay.
But it starts right here with a CA-17. Any other? Yes.
Does OWCP pay for your schedule award exam?
Yeah, so OWCP will pay for a schedule award directly to the doctor. Some doctors, okay, so here's the problem. The vast majority of doctors, even in my network of doctors, which is nearly 60 offices, the vast majority don't know how to do 6th edition ratings. The 6th edition exam is tough. Almost every doctor knows how to do the 5th edition. And that's probably why they don't allow it, because everyone knows how to do it. The 6th is hard because almost nobody knows how to do it. But yeah, they'll pay for it, but some doctors won't accept OWCP payment. They'll make you pay cash because they know it's such high demand. There's so few of them doing it. I know doctors that charge $1,500 to $2,500 cash. That's not allowed at federal injury centers. No cash, period, no matter what. But sometimes finding a doctor means you got to pay like 4 figures to get it. Any of our offices that do it, we bill OWCP and they pay it. And it's like $450, I think is what they pay. Ballpark. Ed knows better, but I'm not getting into billing too much, but somewhere in that neighborhood. But yes, they will pay for it.
We have an online question.
Yeah.
Is a CA-17 needed at every monthly visit? Now, we normally fill out 5 Cs.
Yeah, so there's no rule that says a CA-17 has to be filled out every month. But I think it's good practice to at least reevaluate every month. And I'm not a doctor, so doctors what to do and when to do it. But in my opinion, it's a good idea to just keep a check on it. And if there's a reason to update the CA-17, you do it. If everything's the same, there's really no reason to update the CA-17. But there is no rule that says you have to get a new CA17 every month. But a lot of doctors, just to be thorough, will continue to reevaluate and update as needed medically. It's based on medical necessity.
Kathy said, what is the time limit on a schedule award?
I'm so glad you asked. So anybody that wants to get a schedule award, thing number one, a schedule award is money. Does everybody understand that what a schedule award is? Has anybody never heard of it? Okay, well, a schedule award is money. It's like a final settlement. At the end of an accepted claim, depending on your diagnosis, depending on the body part injured, then you are eligible potentially for money. And that's a schedule award. And that's why you get a 6th edition impairment rating. So you can get a schedule award, which is cash, right? And the time limit to get a schedule award is as long as you're alive. Don't die. As long as you're alive, you can get a schedule award. But your claim had to be accepted, and you have to have a body part that is rateable with that impairment rating. So, for example, the spine is not rateable. If you have a lumbar injury, you can't get a rating on the lumbar. But if it causes problems into your legs, you potentially can get a rating on your legs. If you have a neck problem, you can't get a rating on your neck, but if it causes problems into your arms, you can potentially get a rating on your arms or hands. And the rating is it's an algebraic equation. It takes into account your pay. It takes into account numbers of dependents. It takes into account numbers of weeks on this chart that they have that says, like, if you have it's 200 and something weeks or something like that. Into account your impairment percentage. That's a medical thing. You take all those factors and multiply them together, and you get the dollar amount of a schedule award. It's super complicated, super complicated. And I just that's the part I understand. The doctors have to actually understand how to develop or how to come up with that percentage, that impairment percentage. And that's the complication. That's where it gets tough. We typically work with Eric Blowers, our lawyer friend, and he handles this and has a book of doctors that know how to do it. That's when we don't have an office. Like, if any of our offices can do an impairment rating, we do it ourselves. But the ones that can't, we like to work with Eric because he will at least facilitate it getting done.
So you guys can do it. We don't have to rely on our normal doctor to do it.
Your normal doctor won't know how to do it for sure.
Okay.
100%. I mean, I'd put a monthly paycheck on that one. That your normal doctor doesn't have a clue, but could probably do the 5th edition like it could.
Could you get allowance, work schedule allowance? Suppose you've been, have workers' comp for so many years receiving them. Are you still eligible for a work allowance, or is either one or the other?
So are you saying, can I get a schedule award payment at the same time I'm getting OWCP payments?
After the workers' comp.
So you definitely can get your schedule award after workers' comp. That's the only way you can get it. They won't pay you dual benefits at the same time. So when you're done with your work comp benefits, then you can have a schedule award. Eric has even said that some people will go on temporary disability where they're getting like 60% of their income.
Right.
At the same time, they're getting their schedule award until the schedule award runs out, and then they can often go back on workers' comp. But you can't get your work comp benefits and your schedule award benefits at the same time. They won't pay you twice.
Right. So,
at the same time.
So who could not see about that?
Who can you see about that?
Yes.
When we're done, talk to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the entryway to Eric Blowers.
Okay.
Tanya said, I asked for a new doctor for this injury. I chose your center, but was told I couldn't use it. Had to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay, so Tanya, get your current doctor to write a letter to the claims examiner asking to be removed from your claim. The rule says that request shall be approved. If that doctor refuses to do that, get a referral writing from that doctor to the new doctor. And the rule says all referrals shall be approved. That's how that's done. You just go around it. If you're at the red light, you got to run it, and that's how you run it.
And then Kathy said, will they discontinue your service?
If what?
For
After a schedule award,
Yeah.
You always have a right to medical attention. You have lifetime medical benefits in OWCP. So anytime there's a problem, you have a right to get help. Yep. And Walter Date says, hey guys, go Texas. Yes, go Texas. I can't take a third loss in a row. My heart can't take it. Anything else over there? Anything else over here?
CA7 ? Rural carrier off work due to CA17 restrictions. Do I need to add a documentation to a CA7 to get paid?
Yeah. So rural carriers really struggle with limited duty assignments in that almost always they can't have them. And so the doctor should still write the limitations and restrictions on the CA-17. And the rural carrier should still take it to work and say, hey, I can work. Here's my restrictions. And at that point, the supervisor is going to say, no, you can't work until you're 100%. And then you have to go home, and your part of your documentation is, although my doctor says I can work, my supervisor won't let me work, and so I have to stay home, and then you get paid. That's how it works. But take the CA-17 anyways to the supervisor and let them reject it. That's the best way to get paid. What they should do is find work, but rural carriers get a bad deal when it comes to that.
Tanya said, I received a partial service award last year. Second opinion is for the remaining percentage.
Good luck on that, Tanya. Second opinions it's tough, but you got to do it.
That's it.
Okay, so now this is closer to a normal Wednesday night chats time on Friday afternoon, because we normally do it about an hour. Again, we're in South Carolina at the Federal Injury Center's office of Greenville, and I recommend coming out here because it's fantastic. Now this is my first time here, and everyone seems pretty happy to be here. And it's not always that way because, if you're here, you're hurt. And if you're hurt, you're probably not all that happy. But everyone seems pretty happy to be here. The claims acceptance rate is exactly where we expect it, which is nearly 100. And if you want to have a denied claim, you can go anywhere for that, but you can't come here for that. So it was fun sports day. It was great that you had your open house for 3 days in a row. That was above and beyond. Everyone had a great time. We had a huge turnout over the 3-day period, and we hope to see you next time. So until next Wednesday night.
Next week.
Oh gosh, Robert's going to be so upset if I don't say this. We have a new podcast. It's called just like the book, Breaking OWCP Podcast with Chris and Gini. You can download it on Apple, or you can download it on Spotify. And it's a mix of new, fresh live content that we record and old chats videos that we've converted to audio and done some edits so they're more listenable. Some of the more important things that I've said since 2016 are also getting republished in a way where you can listen to it while you're working.
Yep.
And that's the whole point, because we do our thing at 8 p.m. Eastern time from Florida, but that's 5 p.m. in California, on the West Coast when people are still working. And a lot of people on the West Coast are not getting the information that everyone else is getting because they don't have time. So this negates that problem. You can just download on Apple or Spotify the Breaking OWCP podcast. It has been live now for 2 weeks, and I don't know. We've had over 200 downloads, which isn't bad. My Robert, our podcast guy, says that's pretty rapid growth. So keep following, download it, subscribe to it, and listen to it when you are on the road. But don't be distracted. No wrecks.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, everybody. See you Wednesday.